time for Criminal Law 101
with criminal defense attorney Ken Eulo from the law firm of Smith & Eulo
on 101.1 WJRR.
All right, Ken, what's going on, man?
Good morning, gentlemen. How are we doing today?
Doing all right. A little chilly out, but hey, nice day. Otherwise, let's do this thing, man.
Hey,
right?
Ken and I were just talking, and you were talking about it before. I had to go grab something off my desk, but with Bo Nick's injury, and a listener texted earlier, why not just slap a boot on him? Seriously, I know that you have to pivot and throw off a foot as well, but
I like it.
He'd still probably be better than the fill-in.
What a weird weekend of football in some regards, but anyway.
Crazy. Let's
get to the legal side of things. You are a criminal defense attorney, which you always see and experience interesting cases. You've seen and dealt with it all. If you ever find yourself in a situation where you need a good attorney, criminal defense attorney, get a hold of Smith & Eulo. Everything from criminal-related traffic stuff to first-degree murder. And everything in between. So
the website is SmithAndEULO.com. We have a couple of questions from listeners. Here's what: Can my job put audio recording devices on the employees? It's healthcare. Okay, so they work in healthcare. We can't. That's HIPAA. Just kidding. We had visual devices, but recently they've added audio.
So, I mean, anytime that you go into an employment situation, and again, just so everyone's aware, this is not my area of expertise. I don't deal with these types of
employment law.
Yeah. But I do have a little bit of knowledge in a lot of different areas, just because you go to law school and you kind of deal with a lot of this stuff. So, in terms of employers, as long as they're setting up reasonable standards for you and they're letting you know in advance, they're allowed to set parameters, right? Like, hey, we're gonna record this, or we're going to put video recordings in the office workplace. Now, that's not to say that they can do it without your knowledge, right? Like, they can't secretly bug people, and because you have an expectation of privacy, a right to privacy, but if they let you know and they give you kind of a heads up, then that's a different story.
Have you in day-to-day dealings with cases over the years, what degree of success have you had where you've got a client who there's video evidence against them, or audio evidence getting that thrown out for whatever reason? What kind of stuff do you look at to try to get any kind of? In many cases, that's the strongest evidence prosecution might have.
Yeah, I mean, so video evidence, where you have body camera footage and things like that's part of it, and then you have video evidence of alleyways, public places, things like that. For the most part, video evidence is allowed, but there are exceptions to it, right? For example, if somebody is there's more to the story than what the video is, there's what's called the best evidence rule.
Doesn't show the full context.
It doesn't show the full context, right? So, maybe it can be introduced as part of it, but if they can't show the whole picture, then it's not fair just to kind of show part of the story, right?
Right.
So that's a good example of ways to argue to exclude.
In other words, what the news does.
Right, exactly.
Well, I'm going to chop this down to make this, anyway. I gotcha.
We have this one, too. My son got a second DUI 10 years ago. Ended up, it's really long, so I'll just summarize. I know, he's looking.
I'm looking at it over there right now.
He's looking. It's a book, I tell you that. Anyway, son got a second DUI. Since then, he had to do a little jail time. Since then, he's kept his nose clean and, been on the up and up. But he's still unable to get his license because he has to do community service. He goes to the courthouse. They tell him to go to the probation officer. He doesn't have a probation officer. Is there any way your firm can help?
Yeah, I mean, so we do look into people's licenses and look into people's situations with regard to old DUIs. It's actually a very common thing. We get those kinds of calls all the time. And for a fee, we will essentially walk somebody through the process. We'll look at the record, we'll see what needs to get done, and we'll give them kind of a comprehensive explanation. This is what you have to do. This is where you have to go. These are the steps you have to take. And we'll kind of walk you through the entire
Sometimes this
process.
stuff will go into a black hole for somebody who's not used to dealing with this.
Sure.
Right?
And
Yeah.
you guys can give them guidance.
Absolutely. We have a lot of attorneys at the firm that do a lot of DUI cases,
Yeah.
and there's no issue at all. It's like I said, it's a reasonable fee. It's not the fee of an entire DUI representation. It would just be limited fee for that specific.
Worth it to get all this sorted out, though, in the
Absolutely.
big scheme of things.
Yeah.
Sure.
And for the listener I'll text him as well, but for the listener that sent that in about their kid, Ken at Smith and Eulo. That's Smith, the word AND and EULO.com. You can ask him directly.
Anything else? I got something I definitely want to bring up that I think Ken will probably have some perspective on. Was there any other questions?
Yeah, we'll get to those in a sec. What were you going to ask him?
The phrase civil disobedience. Can you elaborate on that a little bit? You hear that chucked around a lot. Isn't that just code for breaking the law?
Yeah, it is. It basically it's saying we're going to break the law, but we're going to do it for a just cause, right?
In their opinion.
Yeah, and there's really famous examples of civil disobedience that are really justified. I think you look at like Rosa Parks back in the day.
Sure.
That's like one of the classic examples of civil disobedience where you had this ordinance with buses and
segregation times, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So that's a really classic example of civil disobedience. But in terms of what it is, all it is saying, hey, I'm going to go out and I'm going to commit a crime, and the criminal act that I'm going to commit is I think it's BS, right? Like I think that's a BS crime, and I don't think that I'm going to go do it. Good example of that is the issue we had about a month back. Remember the gun situation where the guy went out, stood there with the gun on his hip with the sign. We talked about this.
Okay, yeah.
And said, hey, we have a right, we have a constitutional right, and this law is bogus, and I'm allowed to carry guns. That's a good example of a recent disobedient where the guy actively broke the law.
And that, in turn, resulted in clarification into what the law really is in Florida right now.
Absolutely. Yeah.
In that, I get it. When it comes down to where, I guess what it gets down to, like, let's use some of these protests that start off as peaceful, and next thing you know, you've got 100 people blocking a major thoroughfare.
Sure.
There's nothing there that I'm going to saying this is the wrong way. To me, that's escalating things and putting other people who have nothing to do with any of this in potential danger. A motorist coming down the road, and all of a sudden you're surrounded by 100 people in the middle of the street.
So I think people sometimes get confused with regards to when they say peaceful protest versus when you're actually engaging in violent or aggressive protest. See, when you use the term civil disobedience, like going out and committing a civil, like a decent, lawful protest is not civil disobedience. That's just a lawful act,
and it's a right.
Right, like you're allowed to go out and you're allowed to protest and be, that you're not committing a crime. Right. It's when you start going over into the realm of I'm going to commit a criminal act
as part of my protest.
Yeah. And that's when it kind of crosses the line into civil disobedience, right?
Yeah.
When you're actually committing criminal acts.
Yeah.
But a peaceful protest by itself is not necessarily civil disobedience, quote.
Okay.
I like the fact that here in Florida, they kind of separated us from other states. Isn't it true that, if somebody is doing that, blocking the road, causing you harm?
Well, if you feel your life is in danger, then
you can plow them.
Well,
I'm telling you something, dude. The bumper of my truck would not feel good.
Gotcha.
And I might even go, oh my God, I hit somebody and back over you.
You get
Make sure you're good.
Contact info out there again.
How's that abortion shirt or whatever you're protesting doing now?
Jesus
Sorry.
God. Oh my God.
Direct emails Ken at smithandyulo.com.
And you never know what you're going to get over here, Ken.
And then the website for the gentleman who was asking about his kids and his kid getting in trouble or anybody that needs criminal defense. SmithAndEULO.com. SmithAndYulo.com.
All right, Ken. Thank you for your time as always, and appreciate the insight.
Guys, it was a pleasure. Continue.
Oh my God! I think that he's stuck. I need to go forward now.
Stop.
In the morning. This is Lynch and Taco.
On JRR.